Brand new from Play THQ, the universe is in danger. The Nicktoons heroes and villains must join forces to kick the slime out of Globulus. Join SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, and friends as they team up with some unlikely allies in the biggest and slimiest SpongeBob adventure ever, SpongeBob SquarePants.
Glad it missed me that time.
Globs of Doom. Also available Drawn to Life SpongeBob SquarePants Edition.
Oh my god. I seriously need to remember to turn my eyeball lights on. Now everyone can see where I'm looking, and that's just weird. Where's a light switch? Where's a light switch? So, about time I did another Nickelodeon game, huh? Considering I've done 3 videos in a row exclusively covering Cartoon Network, I need to learn a thing called balance, and upload schedules, and consistent mic quality.
You didn't need a minute to make him grow in size of the building, huh?
Oh, and this is cool. They got Weird Al Yankovic to voice the narrator guy.
So, now we'll get into, oh my god, it's another strategy level.
And Jake also looks off in this game, but not as off as Fusion Fall, so it has that. Well, worry no more, oh faithful subscribers and non-subscribers. I'll be setting things right by reviewing not just a Nickelodeon game, but a SpongeBob game. Specifically, Drawn to Life SpongeBob SquarePants Edition. But you may be asking me, but Cpink, why is it Drawn to Life? If you're not asking, sit tight, because I always have to explain game backgrounds whether or not you have prior knowledge. Alright, let me just pull up the Wikipedia article so you don't have to. Drawn to Life is a 2D game where the player must draw their own character, weapons and accessories, platforms, and objects. And yeah, there's fox creatures and existential questions about you and your creations and child comas, but I haven't played this standard, likely more interesting version of the game. No, as a wee baby child, I was obsessed with cartoons, so I had to beg my parents for the SpongeBob SquarePants edition of the game. This game is, well, apparently barely anything like the original Drawn to Life. In fact, the only real thing in common is drawing your playable character and drawing parts of the environments for your hub and levels and platforming, but otherwise, the mechanics barely line up. Our story starts out like the classic episode of SpongeBob this whole game is based on, Frankendoodle. An artist is at sea, and he drops not 1, but 2 pencils into the ocean. You think this wouldn't happen again, right? When will he learn? Then, as you'd expect, the pencils conveniently fall into Bikini Bottom. More specifically, one onto Patrick's pointed head, and the other not far off from him. Out of sheer need to create conflict, I mean Patrick's reasonable stupidity, the first thing he thinks of drawing is Doodlebob. So SpongeBob shows up, realizes Doodlebob is back and is causing havoc, and 1, 2, 3, presto, we have our playable Doodle character drawn out. Now, fair warning, I let my friends help decide on any drawing ideas, so my main character, I chose Sneed from The Simpsons. And a fair warning to everyone that wishes to play this game, in the present time, for whatever reason, you're going to be sitting in the drawing menu a lot, or at least if you want to actually put the time and effort into what makes this game unique. The same music will play every single time, so you're going to know this little tune by heart. So in terms of platforming, it's very, very standard. You can do a ground pound, you can karate chop, you can scribble out stuff on the ground with the DS stylus, which usually just halts any and all gameplay whenever you have to do it. Oh, and you also have to scribble out enemies if you want to keep them from respawning too. The whole scribbling out process just halts gameplay as a whole in essence. But once you complete the short tutorial level, you get to have a not 3D modeled cutscene, and instead a 2D sprite cutscene. In fact, the rest of all the game's cutscenes are in 2D now, with these slightly edited pre-existing renders of SpongeBob characters. Squidward joins your party, and that means you can now select any of the 3 main characters, SpongeBob, Patrick, or Squidward, to be your special move. Though it's less of a special move and more of either a shield or enemy stunning attack. All of which are virtually useless in the grand scheme of things. Every enemy is easy to defeat without it. And as mentioned, this game features a hub, where you can have several things lying about. First you have your Doodle home, mine is the luxurious Squidward Community College, and then you have the 3 houses on Conch Street, where you can switch your partner before entering a level. Then the Krusty Krab allows you to buy various gadgets and gizmos, like items to store in your item slot, new color palettes, how to draw things, and coloring books. Well, it gives coins a reason to exist. And look at how it has up to 1 million numbers available. Now you know that they expect a lot from your coin collecting. Onwards in the hub, there's a huge area where all citizens in peril will be placed after being saved in levels. Save enough civilians and you can unlock new stuff to be placed around Bikini Bottom or within your doodle home, such as a radio to play the entire game's soundtrack, or TV to view the credits, or, and I am not kidding you, you can redraw the sun and moon and practically play God with these poor sea creatures. So in terms of levels, you got 4 main worlds and 1 bonus world after beating the main game. Bikini Bottom, the jungle, deep sea, and space, as most video games end on, and then Notebook Land. So, how about we get this show on the road with explaining every level, you know, like I always do. First off is Uptown Bikini Bottom, which is very standard. It's Bikini Bottom, what do you expect? It ends off at the Krusty Krab, but otherwise not many remarkable locations to be seen. I mean, I did make these platforms into my previous co-host, Boss Clip, so at least I can see him everywhere I go. Hey, I didn't say you could speak. Now, just be a platform so Sneed can get to the checkpoint, okay?
I didn't consent to this. I just want to make that clear.
Anyways, next level is a carnival. Not Glove World, just some generic carnival. There's some mime clownfish enemy, but to me it just looks like they're minding their own business, but they damage you, so you gotta kill them, as per video game rules. Then there's a minecart level like Donkey Kong Country, except it's monumentally easier and actually a roller coaster ride. Just with huge gaps and several paths, just like a real roller coaster! And then you have Bebo Industries? Is this like the industrial park from Battle for Bikini Bottom? I mean, I get it's called Bebo because of the first letters for Bikini and Bottom, but, well, I'll give them a freebie. It does look like that industrial park in pre-hibernation week. They made me draw Metal Gear, so I made it Snake from Metal Gear. And lastly, you have the boss of this world on Doodled Tower against the Iron Giant, or whatever this is. It's an extremely easy boss battle, so I don't really have much to say on account of this level. Let's move on to the jungle then, shall we? Now normally I'd advise you to listen to the magic conch and do nothing to get out of a kelp forest, but in this instance you're gonna have to do a lot of platforming. Trampolines, windy sections, quicksand, annoying bats that damage you from below the platform. The jungle levels are pretty annoying for the most part. You first start in the wild jungle where you can save Squilliam. That's the most interesting part of this level, really. The power-up you make here are the hopping shoes, which never come in handy whatsoever, so what's even the point? Same can be said for all upcoming power-ups. Either they're completely useless, like the Jellyfish Net's abysmal range, or they're completely situational, like the ninja shoes. And those ninja shoes are some of the worst wall jumping I've had in a platformer, though there probably is far worse out there. Next is the minecart racer, which is pretty much the exact same thing as the last minecart level, just with an old jungle mine aesthetic. So it's more Donkey Kong Country than before. More interestingly, we have the Perilous Cliffs level, which is exactly the kind of annoying platforming I mentioned. This is where the trampolines and windy sections come in, along with some slippery floors at the end. Here is Sneed, hiding behind Mr. Volcano from those Volcanicity commercials in order to keep the wind from blowing him off. That's the kind of fun you can expect in this game. I mean, it's tedious, but at least it's customizable. Next level is Bikinos Bottos, like, I guess it's a primitive version of Bikini Bottom? I don't know much about language history, so maybe it's a clever play on naming conventions, but otherwise it just sounds strange. It's not too interesting of a level. There's some water and some moving platforms, but not that interesting. It gets to this Doodle Temple area in the last segment, giving you a feather hat, and it's also about the most useless power-up in this game, filled with useless power-ups, but I digress. And then the level just ends with you firing erasers at these big white columns of doodle. I don't really get why or what those are. Finally, for the jungle, we face Doodle Bob at the pyramid. Well, the Doodle Pyramid. It's big! And big! You have a boss fight within the pyramid, utilizing the Keyblade here as your main weapon. It's the Jellyfish Net, to be clear. It doesn't really give you much of a combat advantage other than it's slightly further away from you, but it doesn't have the oomph the Karate Glove power-up has, so what's even the point? Doodle Bob uses the bowling ball as a weapon, just like he did in the episode, and also shoots out goop to slow you down. Anyways, Doodle Bob gets away because we still have more game to play. The gang thinks he could have either gone to the deep sea or the moon, because there was a rocket and a submarine, not because they just randomly decided on those two locations. So we get to the deep sea first, because that would be the most reasonable if you're already underwater. The deep sea starts in the Cliffs of Doom! It's just the minecart level that takes you from the jungle to the deep sea. Anyways, rock bottom! Very classic SpongeBob location, even if it barely appears in the main show. It has its stride in SpongeBob video games. Hey, this is a SpongeBob video game. Now talk about some annoying enemies. This level introduces the hermit crabs and the... I don't even know what to call these. The hideous, disgusting monster. There's some horrific creature, that's for sure. Oddly, for being called Rock Bottom, the monsters here seem to be more based on the trench in the SpongeBob movie, such as this eel that can pop up from the ground or walls. Oh, and here's a part where I die, and in order for this game to let you respawn, you gotta hit the ground. So you can just watch as I slowly fall to my death, waiting to respawn. After that level, you climb aboard the Flying Dutchman's ghostly pirate ship. Ooh. The Dutchman is mad because his ship's been vandalized, on account of all the doodles and such. This is where we're introduced to Doodle Patrick, which is unlike any other doodles by actually being smarter than his original counterpart. I guess the only way to dumb down the dumbest character in the show is to make them smarter? I don't know the logic behind it, but Doodle Patrick's a welcome addition as an original character for this game. The Dutchman's deck level isn't the most crazily tedious, but it has some frustrations in there. There's oddly an abundance of spikes for being a pirate ship though, not sure why that'd just be part of the ship's design. And this purple goo is questionable. Did the Flying Dutchman just spread jelly all over his floors? Paired with these slippery floors and spikes, the platforming can feel like you're going up, 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 watch your step every jump. A pretty cool inclusion in this level would have to be the secret Fly of Despair room, though it's just a little bonus area for coins, no scary heads or eyeballs like the actual episode. Here we go, into the below deck level. This is the most maze-like level you can get in this game, complete with directionless teleporting and bunch of buttons to open gates. In this whole section we have to run from a wall of ghosts. Then you have to do some swinging platforming. I made it into Coach Z, because I seriously need to implement my channel's icon in some of the videos for once. Then lastly, you gotta go to the grape jam floors and dodge erasers and enemies. This level felt like it took forever, and it's not even the longest level in the game. It was just tedious. Am I using that word too much? Tedious? Whatever, it's true. Now we get to face the wrath of Doodle Patrick, who can do a belly flop and throw goo and spin around, but most uniquely he grows in size during his battle. And not just once, but several times. He gets super huge. Nonetheless though, Doodle Patrick is a fairly easy battle. A lot of his sprite work harkens back to previous Patrick moments, like his knocked out pose being him sucking his thumb like in the SpongeBob movie, when he was freaking out in the Valentine's Carnival being the same as his growing animation. But with Doodle Patrick defeated and no sign of Doodle Bob, looks like we have no choice but to go to the moon. Seriously, Twitter just says we have no choice but to go to the moon. That statement is hilarious if you don't understand the context. So heading to space, we create a rocket and some power orbs, or whatever they're called, and it's basically Asteroid/Galaga. It's like a minute long of a level, not much of note. More interestingly, we land onto the moon surface level. As usual with video games and their space levels, the moon surface is higher and floatier jumps to use. There are these giant meteors that just get in the way, and keep in mind the DS screen is so tiny and it's not a widescreen, so these things feel like they just come out of nowhere with barely any sound cues. And I still don't understand what's with all the spikes. They should at least look like steel or rocks or something, not thorny and planty. Then we get into the space station, which has the same kind of doodle aesthetic as the temple area in Bikini Bottom. And I still can't get over that name, Bikini Bottom. Anyhow, the space station's got tons of robot enemies within it, and nearly every power-up type is present. No, literally. Pretty much any power-up comes out of this present item. Then you have Doodle Sandy? What, she's just some enemy, not a full-on boss like Doodle Bob and Doodle Patrick? What a load of There's also these laser robots that can only be killed by heavy weights, or Homsar, because I was still in the Homestar Runner mood during the time. So, otherwise, the laser robots is just a pain to get past. After that tricky level, no seriously, I nearly had to do the whole thing over again because I lost all my lives back there, we make it to Bikini Doodle. It's the entirety of Bikini Bottom, but drawn by Doodle Bob. On the moon! I'd like to think this is a reference to the episode Sandy's Rocket, where SpongeBob and Patrick thought the moon could perfectly replicate their hometown. I mean, they did directly reference the episode when asking Sandy about taking a rocket to the moon, but, well, yeah, it could still be a reference, it could be. This level doesn't really do anything unique though. There's an elevator you can ride and a crate you can push. Those are about the only mechanics this level has to offer. After that, you get to the lunar battle level. Now I thought this was going to be the final boss battle against Doodle Bob, but no, it was just another platforming level. This time it has cannons, lots of blue space goop, and this section where a giant eraser chases you up a vertical area. But it just felt so so pointless. I don't get why this level is called Lunar Battle when there was no battle whatsoever. Alright, now we get to a boss fight. Doodle Revenge. You get to create the superhero suit power-up, easily the best in the game. Which isn't saying much, but it's nice to have double jump and fast projectile. It also lasts for the entire level, even if you die, so that's a win! The boss fight starts out just like the last Doodle Bob fight, just a bit harder with bats coming in. Then it has a second stage that's a lot more open, with tons more enemies being drawn in, and Doodle Bob ramming it with the eraser into the magic pencil. After that battle, Doodle Bob gets away, and we just do another ship segment. It's every bit as quick as the last. Then we get to the final level in the main story, Asteroid Battle. Equipped with the magic pencil, you attack a giant Doodle Bob with the eraser to destroy his spooky doodle armor, then take him down whilst avoiding his giant goop and bowling balls. Once defeated, we get to see the only other 3D cutscene in the game, where our heroes, and Squidward, realize all Doodle Bob wanted was a friend. I mean, he captured several people and sent monsters to attack the innocents, and destroyed Bikini Bottom, but that can be excused, right? You get to draw a happy face on Doodle Bob, and then... Wait, credits? No, there's supposed to be some cutscene. That, for some reason, didn't happen on my game. Here's what my friend Polly drew for how it looked. Basically, SpongeBob and Patrick would celebrate, then they thank the player, then... Yeah, it wouldn't be much. But it'd be more just a cutting to credits. Oh, and a new bonus world has been unlocked, hooray. The bonus world is Notebook Land, seemingly where Doodle Bob comes from. It's just one really long and, dare I use this word again, tedious level. Now the first few stages are fine, but once it gives you this new ninja suit, that's when things get rough. You have to use this game's terrible wall jump system, whilst dodging lasers that blast down the middle of the chasm, whilst avoiding jumping onto spikes, whilst climbing up a bunch of platforms, which means falling down could set you back. I know it's the bonus level, but it leaves such a bad taste in my mouth for what otherwise felt like a fair set of levels beforehand, even if a few were annoying. After getting through that mess, you partake in the last battle. Literally, the level's called Last Battle. It's nothing really special though, it's Doodle Squidward, and every time you crush him down he splits into 2 smaller Squidwards. And that's about it. That's all the levels in the game. Even if I did a lot of rambling and pointed out annoyances, the game was otherwise pretty nice to go through. Felt like it had something different to do every level, with the exception of those minecart and rocket ship parts. My biggest complaint would have to be your drawings mainly being used for just one level. They rarely come back if they aren't a platform and power-up. Otherwise, they don't really come back, and that's a shame since the whole drawing aspect is the main gimmick. Outside of the levels, there's the main menus pages for coloring books, which is just a paint bucket tool for sprite work of SpongeBob characters, and the Draw SpongeBob page. It has drawing tutorials, I guess, but they're so simple that it clearly isn't intended for someone my age. And you also get to learn how to draw a few select SpongeBob characters, and, well, learn also being a loose term. It's basically just tracing and putting parts of their face and body onto the character, so you can just be like me and abuse this power to create a monstrosity of your choosing. There's also multi-card play, a multiplayer mode that I can't really show because I have nobody to play with. But it looks fun enough, I guess. You tackle players to get a hold of this trophy thing, but otherwise... Yep, that was Drawn to Life SpongeBob SquarePants edition. It's a pretty good DS game, all things considered. Not amazing, but has some unique stuff to keep you engaged the whole way through. Though I suppose it's probably not as good as the original Drawn to Life, at least in terms of depth behind it. I don't know, I see SpongeBob in the title, I buy it. Now then, I should probably get started on that next game review already, try and up my production some more. You know, I am still in that Homestar Runner mood.